Okay, question 7. Study was conducted into an alternative form of treatment for migraines, unicorn regression, crystal healing, and we've got a table showing the outcomes in percentages of 160 patients with migraine who did and didn't receive the unicorn crystal healing treatment. And the Council of Regression and Psychohealing believes that patients who suffer from migraines benefit from receiving the treatment and wish to perform a chi-squared test. And Part A asks us to explain why the table cannot be used as it is and draw up a table suitable for performing a test. Okay, so well, we know that the chi-squared test requires frequencies, not percentages. So that's all we need to say. Chi-squared test requires frequencies, not percentages. So all we need to do is make a new table. So we've got the unicorn healing, the placebo, reduction in migraine, and not reduction. And we just need to convert all of those percentages into frequencies. And that won't take 2 seconds. So using the calculator, we've got 16.25% of 160. So that's 26, 43.75. So 43.75% of 160, that's 70. And we've got 20.625, which is 33, and 19.375 of 160. That gives us 31. So we've done part A, drawing up the contingency tables suitable for testing. I'm just going to put those row totals on there. So we've got 96, 61, 101 and 59. Okay, part B, perform a chi-squared test to test the council's claim at the 5% level of significance, stating your results carefully. So the council's claim is that patients who suffer from migraines benefit from receiving the unicorn treatment. So we need to draw up our hypotheses, and for the chi-squared the hypotheses are always the same. The null hypothesis is there is no association between treatment type and outcome, and the null hypothesis is that there is an association between treatment type and outcome. quite a lot of words, but it has to be written. Now notice that the council's claim is that the treatment, not just that there's an association, but that the treatment is beneficial, and we'll come back to that if we find that the association is significant, but for now we'll just do the test. So we need a table showing observed values, expected values, and the chi-squared. Now this is a 2 by 2 table, so we need to use Yates correction, and I'm just going to write that up here where I've got a bit of space, that the chi-squared test is O minus E, then knock off a half from the value of that before squaring and dividing by E, and if you're not sure about that you'll have to go and revise it. So this is the chi-squared test value. So I'm just going to put my table up. So the observed values are 26, 70, 33 and 31. So I just need to put the expected values in. And we know that we're going to use the formula row total times column total divided by total. And I'll just put that total in there. There are 160 people altogether in the test. So the first one we're going to do 96 times 59 divided by 160. We get 35.4. I'm going to work them all out and then write them in. 61 times, sorry, for 70 it's 96 multiplied by 101 divided by 160. For 33 it's 61 multiplied by 59 divided by 160, and for 101 it's 61 times 101 divided by 160. Okay, so then put those numbers in. 35.4, 60.6, 22.49375, and 38. So that number's not 61, it's 64. So both those numbers are going to be wrong, I think. Just going to check those numbers again. Obviously you'll be doing this on your calculator too, so you'll be able to double check what I'm doing. So we've got 64 multiplied by 59 divided by 160. That gives us 23.6 here, and 64 multiplied by 101 divided by 160 is 40.4. That's better. Okay, now to do the chi-squared test using Yates correction. Now, rather than worrying about the modulus, it's much easier to just do bigger number, take away smaller number, and knock off a half before squaring it. So for this one I'm going to do 35 take away, sorry, 35.4 take away 26, take away a half, then square that number and divide by 35.4, and we get 2.2375. 23757. Then I do big, take away small, 70 minus 60.6, knock off the half, press equals, square that number, divide by 60.6, and we get 1.307. And then, next one, big takeaway small, 33, takeaway 23.6, takeaway a half, square that number, divide by the expected value 23.6, and we get 3.356. These seem quite big values to me. And the last one, big takeaway small, 40.4, takeaway 31, takeaway the half, square it, divide by the expected value, and we get 1.9606. So the chi-squared test value is the sum of all those numbers, so I'm going to add that up, and we get 2.23757 plus 3079 plus 3.35635 plus 1.9606, and we get 8.861. So that's the chi-squared test value. Now we need the chi-squared critical value. And the critical value comes from the table. We need to know the degrees of freedom, which is row minus 1 times column minus 1, the number of rows minus 1 times the number of columns minus 1. Well, for a Yates 2 by 2 table, that's 1 times 1, so it's 1. And the significance level, I'm just looking in the question, 5% level of significance. So I'm going to get my chi-squared table up, and I'm looking at the 95% value here with 1 degree of freedom, and it's 3.841 is the critical value. So chi-squared crit is 3.841. So the critical value is much smaller than the test value. So if we draw our little diagram for chi-squared, we can see that we are firmly in the reject region. The critical value is 3.8 and we're 8.8, so we're massively significant. So we are going to reject H0. There is an association. Between treatment type and outcome, but I just want to go back and look at the table, because the claim by the council was that the patients who receive the treatment benefit from it. So we need to just check they're actually making a claim about the direction. So we just need to compare what we see with the observed and expected values. So these are the expected values. Sorry, over here on this table, these are the observed values, and I'm going to put the expected values in red next to them. So we can see this one 35, this one 60, this one 24, I'm just rounding them, and this one 40. Actually that one's 61. and we round it. And we can see that we were expecting this value to be 35. We were expecting 35 people who received the treatment to report a reduction in intensity or frequency, but in fact only 26 did. And then the people who received the treatment, 70 of them reported no reduction, and we were only expecting that to be 61. So in fact the outcomes were the opposite of what we expected. So we just need to say that. We reject H0, there is an association, but the patients receiving the IRCH, unicorn regression, crystal healing, were worse off. So the claim is not true. And this question occurs occasionally on exam papers where we were asked not only to find whether or not there is an association, but the direction of it. So lastly, part C, a later much larger study finds that the IRCH treatment is harmful to patients, causing Celine Dion to be struck off the register of healing singers, and we're asked to state what type of error has occurred, giving a reason for our answer. So the IRCH treatment is found to be harmful, in other words so there is an association and it is harmful. Well, that's what we found. That is exactly what we found. So we rejected H0, when it was false, so no error was made. And that is that question finished.